this is what I'm doing. Right? So I'm gonna guess.
Heard you did it first, I could do it better. If we talking bands, got a new vendetta. They don't want me in, they gon' have to let us. They gon' try to rock when it's Armageddon. They gon' take a lot when they hear the message. And they gon' wanna try when they hear the sessions. I feel like I'm a god when I'm in your presence. I feel like I'm on top, I feel like I had it. City only rock at Givenchy. Got a new white bag and it coming full speed. And they see me at the top, now they really like me. Gotta move like that when you're real icy. Cause it's way less friends than the haters. Way less ends when you make it. And it's really all in when you all in the.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blue Talk. We're back for another episode. Here we talk about politics, we talk about what's going on in society, and we just give our takes on the culture. I'm very happy to be here with my special recurring guest at this point. So just to get straight into it, today we're going to be talking about social media. That's going to be the topic of discussion, whether it's good or bad for our society, and whether we could trust these big tech companies to govern themselves. Just to kind of start off as an icebreaker, I'm going to let each of you introduce yourself. So I just want you to tell me really quickly your name, where you're from, and then tell me a quick story about your first memory with social media. So we could start with Andre because he's right to my left.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andre. I'm 32. I live in Philly. I said my age because it'll tell you my relationship with social media. So I had my first cell phone when I was 17, almost 18 years old. And I had MySpace was hot at the time. So I remember MySpace and a lot of drama in high school and who you put on your top 5 and like what that, that signified to other people who are your friends. And yeah, so that was my first memory, was telling the world who my homies are with MySpace.
That's funny. Okay. Keisha, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I'm Keisha. I am 20. I am from Denmark, South Carolina. And my first encounter with social media was actually off of my mom's page, Facebook page at that, because when Facebook became popular or whatever, I wasn't really allowed to have one. So I would just post different little quotes. So I don't really have a significant story besides just being on my mom's account in the beginning.
Okay, definitely. And then last but not least.
Oh, so my name is Maceo. I'm 29. I just turned 29 years old.
Happy birthday. Happy belated.
Thank you. Aries, April, my first experience. Oh, I'm from New York City, Southside, Jamaica, Queens. I live in Bed-Stuy, but I'm from Southside. I'm a Southside boy. My first significant interaction with social media. I would have to say AIM. Well, it's a messenger. All my friends was in it. Met a lot of weird people. I was probably 14, 15. The Sidekick and everything. I'd be having touch screen phones and everything. But I remember the Swirl. Of course, Facebook. I think SkullNet, something like that, where it was high schools and whatnot. But for me, it had to be AIM. It was Messenger. Met a lot of different people, learned a lot of different things in life, and I feel it prepared me.
For sure.
Sure. What was your AIM screen name?
Pretty Boy Blue.
I'm weak.
And Mr. Fresh to Death. I had to.
That's funny. So I think kind of off of that point, I think all of us had different entry points into social media. I think one thing we can all agree on is that it's changed a lot since we first saw it. So I just kind of want to start off the conversation by talking about that a little bit. I just know from my experience, I think social media has changed a lot. I think when I first got on social media, it was a lot more about interacting with your peers, whereas I feel like now it's a lot more about business and branding and advertising. That's just my personal thoughts, but I want to see what you all think about it, just how it's changed.
Okay, so I'll go first.
Okay.
I feel like social media has changed because I feel like social media, in my personal opinion, is the new news outlet. Um, Everyone will quickly go to Facebook or whatever social media outlet, whether it be Instagram in the shade room, however the case may be of your means of social media. We use that as our way to be connected to the world, not more so just our peers now. Because I mean, I know a prime example is everything with the gas and the Colonial Pipeline. I saw that through Facebook. I didn't see that on Channel 6 News, Channel 12 News. I saw that on Facebook. So
Yeah.
I feel like a new news outlet, as well as a way to track activities for minority groups. I guess I would say as a way to collect data and statistics, because once you tap into those different social media sites, some of these sites are tracking our offline behavior.
Definitely. And then I'm just curious for context, how many hours a day you think you spend on social media, if you're
A lot.
comfortable sharing? A lot?
A lot. I mean, I feel like I go in and out of the same apps every
That's
day.
hilarious.
Yeah, between Facebook and Snapchat, quite a lot.
You're on it. Okay.
Do
Okay.
you remember like when Keisha? Do you remember when Facebook changed?
From
I'm lagging a bit.
only online, like on web, or
No, like they changed the layouts. Do you remember that? Like I remember logging back in and they kept changing the layouts. That was one of my like something that stuck with me, that Facebook kept changing the way that we couldn't get used to where everything was.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
yes, because I mean I remember they added live, all of that good stuff, and had to keep showing you how to navigate through different things. Yes, I do remember.
So Jalen, I think I have 2 points I want to talk about, like the change I saw on social media, some one good and one bad. I think about the Arab Spring, right, and the ability for a lot of these oppressed peoples to connect and tell their government that they're tired of their behavior, and Twitter was a big like component of that, right? So the ability to like tweet at each other and create hashtags so they know where to like they're tear gassing in this square, we got to move to this square, right? Like, so I remember the Arab Spring being one of those like cruxes and really important moments in like social, like the importance of social media and how it can connect and how it can be used as a tool to like revolt against the government. So that was one of those things that like, ooh, that was like a big changing moment for social media. And the other one for me was the introduction of algorithms. When I remember when there was so much content that you like, it just literally loaded all of it. But now they select which content you get to see. And that was with the introduction of algorithms. Before, Facebook just showed you had 10 friends, whatever your 10 friends posted, you saw all of it. Now you only see what you're more likely to interact with. And I think that created that like echo chamber, and that's algorithms, right? They want you to spend more time on the apps and spend more time looking at advertisers, and they want to keep you engaged. And facts are you're going to stay engaged with stuff that you care or are interested in. So the introduction of algorithms was a big one that changed the game. And I also think the Arab Spring and the way that social media, which is a good, was used to connect people and support a movement.
Definitely. I think even moving from the Arab Spring to like last summer, I think a lot of the reason why the movement we saw last year was so impactful was because of social media. Like you saw people from different countries coming together to march at the same time and say the same things and kind of support the same movement. So I think I definitely understand that point to the power of the movement. Maceo, do you have any perspective on it?
So you said two things that what now again?
Who, me or Andre?
No, you. You said two things social media impacted you, or what was the question?
My question was, how have you seen social media change?
Oh, great. So, and this, well, one thing I can say is I'm the selfie king, and I am the person that invented taking selfies with politicians. I say this because this is what happened, right? Literally, I got my mom brought me a phone or whatever, or I interned for a city council member's office, and I got a phone, and I was taking selfies with him. I said, "Let me take a selfie with you." I took selfies with all these politicians and everything. Now everybody want to do it, and it's like I have no problem with it. But a lot of people were actually like, coming to me asking me about policies and things like that. And like, I started like, taking pictures of what I was doing in my neighborhood, and out of nowhere I became like a role model for like, different, college Democrats of America, college Democrats of New York. I got high school Democrats right now. People think I'm in high school. I'm like, I got a full beard and everything. I got a child. Like, how am I in high school? But they're asking me about like campaign stuff. They're asking me about like, messaging and, me being the field director and, things like that. So I've seen it, uh, bring my portfolio bigger. Also, I've seen that, like Andre said, it creates echo chambers. It's sad to say that I've never really paid attention to social media because I never made it like a big deal in my life. Like it was there. It was something that I click in, I click out. It didn't really control like my my everyday life. Like is there, but I always seen social media as something that people just want to like debate. And I can only I'm speaking for myself. Like my social media, I post something and someone wants to debate it. So it's always been like me putting my political view and me putting my hood view up there. So like me, the politician, says this. Me, the guy that the drug dealer lives on my block, is saying this. You feel me? So it's two different things. And I had to argue both of my stances because a lot of people don't want to admit that the drug dealer lives on their block, and they never asked the drug dealer, hey, do you want a job? I went up to the drug dealer and said, hey, do you want a job? And they give me an honest response. So my thing is, I feel like social media always been confrontational with me because, even though like, I love politics and I'm in it and I got close to a lot of these, people and took selfies with them and everything, I still have to come back to the hood and talk to people. And I feel like, that's a platform for me to put the plight of my people. The Arab Spring is nice, all these other countries nice, but I feel like too many people look outward and never in their community. Everybody want to talk about everything that's happening geopolitically, but there's a person, that live in the projects, or you walk past that needs a pair of socks, sneakers, underwear, or food, but we're sending money everywhere else. So I never really cared about that. I always cared about, my own neighborhood. Because at the end of the day, the people that's going to rob you was the person that's in your neighborhood, not some terrorist that's, a million miles away,
That's interesting. Okay, that point that's interesting. I definitely feel that. You spoke a little bit about politics and the effect of social media on politics in like a local fashion. I think one thing we've seen over the last 5 years is social media really come in vogue, I guess would be the term, in national and state level politics. So we see people like Trump who use Twitter to wreak havoc on America, but we even see people like AOC or Bernie Sanders or even Marjorie Greene, I think her name is. She's a Republican lady who keeps using social media to say super crazy things. But nevertheless, I think politicians are using social media more than they ever have before and in different ways than they ever have before. I'm curious if you guys have seen that and how you think it's kind of affected our political conversations.
Well, I have seen it. Now me personally, I will be honest. I'm not big on Twitter. I'll be honest, like even though I'm like considered a millennial, I don't think it's easy user friendly. Honestly, I get on there and don't know what just because I feel like now Twitter, yes, a lot of politicians even use like through promoting on Facebook, but I feel like most of it goes down on Twitter. That's just my opinion. But I feel like Donald Trump, he tore down that platform. And I know that back then they had restricted his account, I guess because of some things that he, was saying. But overall, I would say personally, I feel like social media can be a positive towards the political world. In that aspect of being positive, it gets more younger people active with having opinions about it. But on the negative side, I feel like even in my generation, it's so many opinions that's out there to the point that we forget to create our own. We share things, we indulge in commenting, and as Maceo said, kind of like confrontation, like we want to argue with the politicians, but I feel like the arguing just stays there on the social media outlet. Like if you, for example, let's say, for example, if I disagree with Maceo about something and he's the politician, if I only have a feud with him on social media and I really wanted to do something about it, why not put on my clothes and go vote about it instead of arguing? I feel like the involvement is on the media as opposed to actually being physically involved.
That's real. And I think to that point, I think social media kind of encourages half-baked arguments, right? So if you're on Twitter having a long argument or conversation, someone might catch you in the middle of it and think that's the thought and not see the tweet after that's like making peace. But I saw you were going to say something, Andre. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I wanted to just comment on, we just had the social media president, right? Like we were talking about policy, and Trump announced brand new policy that surprised his staff and the whole world on via Twitter, right? Like he and I also think because of social media, so I think one of the overarching themes is that social media is a tool, right? Like we're saying it could be good, it could be bad. It's a tool depending on how you use it. And I feel like that has been the case for a very long time. And because of that tool being available, Donald Trump was like, in my opinion, was able to be elected president. I think his base and the people that he interests and that came out and voted for him in large numbers and was active in 2016 were people with short attention spans, right? Like 140 character tweet was about like as interested as they were going to get. It gave him a platform without any rebuttal or allowing people to screen or edit,
and maybe make America great in a policy. Sorry about that. And with that platform, it's dangerous when you had mentioned people with the misinformation that's out there, the ability to stay in these echo chambers, and it just amplifies a message without any check on that message. Definitely.
You're muted.
Yeah.
I said I do want to say something. So I do want to say that I don't believe Donald Trump was elected because of social media and short attention spans. I believe that, well, not just me, a lot of Democratic consultants, which I am a political consultant. Hillary Clinton didn't have a good message with her. That's always she said with her and whatnot. And Donald Trump actually, brought, substantial evidence, even though I'm a Democrat, I'm a black man. And, he was saying some things, with the Clinton administration, doping up kids and, their parents going with it and putting them on, these drugs and whatnot. Years ago.
Maceo, I have a question. Is Michelle Obama responsible for Barack Obama's policies?
Hold on a second. Because she actually spearheaded some of this stuff. Hillary Clinton, as first lady, she spearheaded some of this stuff. So this is what I want to say, right? He put that out there, and a lot of black people were saying that. And like my mother was saying this like years ago. Like the school tried to say I was like mentally ill and everything, tried to put drugs on me. So my mother took me out of school, put me into a different school and whatnot. You feel me? And that school happened to be a charter school, So my whole thing is a lot of these things are real, and we need to stop blaming social media or saying, short attention spans when a lot of these people actually own businesses and things like that. I don't want to get into like the whole thing, but my whole thing is just because we're Democrats and we live in cities doesn't mean we can only have a city view. We have to see the conservative view. And too many times people from cities, like I'm from Southside, Jamaica, Queens, you feel me? We have crackheads. I went upstate to campaign for a Democrat against a Republican, and they had like people drinking like whiskey or drinking like fermented stuff. And I was like, what's that? That's the equivalent of a crackhead. You feel me? They do all of that. But anyways, what I do want to get into is people do have.
I want to address your point real quick, Maceo, because I don't think it's either or, right? It's both and. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So it's not that social media was the culprit, like the entire culprit behind Trump's election, right? I agree. So, for instance, I worked for Hillary for America, and I was in Wisconsin. She never came to Wisconsin, right? Like, she never visited the state. She lost it by like 20, 30,000 votes. And she never, on her campaign to be president of America, never visited Wisconsin, a swing state, and she lost the state, right? Like, so I agree with you, like, poor campaign, ran poorly. But to say that Donald Trump like
bad messaging.
was coherent or made any sense, I think is
I never said.
blatantly like is a falsehood,
I
right?
never
Like,
said.
it's
I never
inaccurate.
said. Again, this is the thing. It made sense enough for people to get up and go. Because this is the thing I notice about Donald Trump. He psychologically say things without saying things. So it's a dog whistle, you know.
Yeah, and guess how
my
he
whole thing
amplifies
is-
that dog whistle, Maceo? How does he
No,
get that dog
so this is
whistle
the thing.
from being
So this is-
local
So
to
this is
the
this
world?
is the thing. So this is the thing. When he speaks, he don't need me. He don't need your vote. He don't need my vote. He don't need your vote. He don't need Keisha vote. He don't need Nash vote. You feel me? He needs the people that he needs to talk to. So as a, and I don't want to get into Donald Trump. You feel me? I'm not making this a Donald
I
Trump.
agree.
thing.
We're talking about the
All-
what I'm
all
talking
I'm
about is the
saying-
platform. What I'm
all
talking about is the
saying
platform, right? So when
wait,
Donald
wait,
Trump
wait,
speaks, you
all
just
saying-
I want to address what
One
you said,
mic,
right?
one
You're
mic,
saying,
one mic.
Maceo,
have to
you're
say
saying
that-
it's a dog whistle and people hear it, right?
It is a dog
And I'm
whistle.
saying, you see
You
how
know,
we're
they
on a show right
understand
now?
it, though. They
Blue
understand
Star
it.
is hosting a show, and we're using their platform. Their platform can shut us down whenever they want. Whenever we say the platform, if we say some wild, crazy stuff, the platform can shut us down, right? We are moderated. There is some moderation to the things that we say. So when Donald Trump says those dog whistles and there's no moderation, that message goes unchallenged. But let's say he was invited to the Daily Show or the morning show and he says the dog whistle and somebody's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's some wild, crazy shit. That's not true. That's not factual, right? That message immediately is blunted. As opposed to he tweets, yo, the Muslims are taking everything, right? That message isn't blunted because no one, the people who see that message don't see the moderate people saying, hey, wait a minute, that's crazy.
That's interesting.
And
So
that's the effect of social media.
So kind of to that point, I think there's a lot of good points made. I don't want to get too off track. But speaking about Donald Trump and definitely his use of social media, I'm sure all of you know he got banned on Twitter and Facebook.
He said he's going to create his own
riots.
platform.
Yes.
He's going to create his own platform.
So last week, I think the board of Facebook or something like that voted on whether or not to reinstate him. I believe that they said no. But just to kind of get into some statistics that we have, about half of young Americans believe that the United States government should further regulate big tech, according to the Harvard Kennedy School Institute of Politics. As I just stated, one great example of one big example of social media regulating its users is with Donald Trump. Other countries just worldwide, including China, India, and Russia, have also taken steps to either limit the power of or even ban certain social media platforms and certain messages on social media platforms. So I guess the question we're going to get into is, do you believe that the United States government should regulate social media platforms like they did with Donald Trump? And what do you think the responsibility is on that?
I believe that whatever you say cyberly is your freedom of speech. As an American, I'm speaking as an American, because I do have to make this clear. So we have the first 5 freedoms, and Andre's a lawyer, so he can verify this if not. Freedom of speech, expression, religion. I forget the other 2. I say this all the time. Right. Anyways, press and assembly, right? Cool. My uncle's right here. Yeah, thank you, Uncle. Anyways, I say like this, as an American, I feel that. So wait, hold on. 2 things, right? As an American, there's 2 presidents that really makes it clear. Thomas Jefferson says that, the government's job is, to regulate business and everything. But so far, government is regulating people's speech. They're regulating their constitutional rights. So it's almost like we don't have constitutional rights anymore, So my whole thing is, should we see it like, the things that, crazy things people say, should we see it as dog whistles or in the same vein of, fire in the, in a crowded place, and we should say, hey, they should be persecuted? Or should we say someone says, hey, let's go out there and bash some people's heads in, and someone goes out there and bash their hand in, and they say, hey, this person said it and everything. Should we hold them accountable or the person that said it accountable? I think that's where we should be moving in, because again, you have the freedom to say whatever you want, but there are repercussions. But my whole thing is, where are the repercussions put? So that's Thomas Jefferson. But you have, Teddy Roosevelt, who's like, a new dealer and everything. I know Franklin Roosevelt, right? My bad, Franklin. And you know, and then I've seen conservatives say this all the time. The more the government gives you, the more government can take away from you because they're giving it to you. So you know, I'm stuck in a Democrat in a libertarian way of seeing things because I don't want nothing taken from me, you know, but I do want things given to me. But respectfully, if Obama gave it to us, Trump can roll it back. So my whole thing is, where can we put it to where no one can take it away? You know, so that's what I'm at.
Keisha, I thought you had a point. I thought there's something you want to say, Keisha.
Okay, so piggyback on something that Maceo said, I definitely agree. When you come into play about regulating social media, one does have to ask himself, where does the reprimands come in at? I know, for a prime example, a simple example, I would say, Facebook, right? If you are using certain vulgar language, I know now they have upscaled it just a little bit. Like if you are using, I suppose, too much profanity, I guess, the millennials call it Facebook jail. Your account is restricted, cannot post for 30 days or whatever the case can be. I have never been in Facebook jail, by the way. I just know.
That's good.
But I am saying that to say that when Facebook or whatever else social media site has those in place, then how does the government counteract that? Because they could argue like, we have some of these things in place. You know what I'm saying? So they could argue like towards the government that these things are per se regulated, because then again, you can't take away someone's freedom of speech. Now, you do have more serious cases where if somebody says, okay, I'm going to go shoot up the school tomorrow, and then they actually do it, the government can pull up these things that say, all right, Lil Johnny said he was going to shoot up the school at 3:02 on Facebook, such and such and such. And we have probable cause, whatever case may be, that holds up in court, I suppose. Now, what would you do? And I'm really looking forward to hearing Andre's response to this. But what would you do in that case of saying it's regulated, but you want to give a circumstance to the person who posted it?
So I think that's the system we currently have now, right? So we don't regulate in the sense that we regulate everything else, like social media, right? And there's no law that says that Facebook needs to do X, Y, and Z, or or these companies need to do X, Y, and Z. But the way that I think about it is like a sliding scale, right? And at one end of the scale, we have China, right? Whereas in they have government ran think tanks that control all media, and all media censored through these government ran think tanks. Like that's one end of the spectrum, right? And the other end of the spectrum, we have, I think I'm going to call it America, right? Whereas in Facebook and some of these, there was a man who was killed from in a pizza shop in DC because of like this wild, crazy conservative Facebook group page that said that they're molesting children in the basement, and then some conservative went into this pizza place and shot the owner because of a Facebook post, right? So like that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is like China, and so it's like a sliding scale, right? So currently, I agree that we have constitutional rights, but like you've hit it nail on the head, right? Like we can't yell fire on the rights. Our rights are curbed, and we all agree with the curbing of our rights because it's for the benefit of other people, right? I yell fire in the theater, someone can get trampled and they can die. My liberties are curtailed, right? My liberties are curtailed up until the point that they affect someone else. And we've all agreed with that. And we all think that makes sense, right? That we should have the freedom to say what we want with like exclusions that we don't affect other people, right? So I don't think the government should regulate Facebook, but maybe they should be broken up. I think so Facebook owns Instagram. It owns all of these other conglomerates.
WhatsApp.
Yeah, they piece so much information together from like you get off Facebook, you hop on Instagram, right? So they knew where you were at when you were on Facebook. They know where you were at when you're on Instagram. So maybe we break up these organizations, but the regulation I think is a slippery slope to authoritarianism, because your point is like, what if the government controlled Facebook? I'm like, yeah, the Facebook blocked Trump, but if Trump controlled the Facebook, then he'd unblock himself, right? Like, or he wouldn't be blocked in the first place. So, I don't think the government should regulate the social media, but the way it is now is not sustainable.
I had a question. Why we keep bringing up Trump? I don't understand why we keep bringing up this man's name, whatnot. Like he's not president no more. Leave him alone.
Maceo, he fired people like cabinet officials via Twitter, right? Like that's the first time in the history of the world. Like that's okay, but like however you view it, it doesn't change its importance.
No, so what I'm saying is we treat Democrats, especially black people, we treat Trump as this boogeyman, you know. And I don't know.
He was the first person to fire a cabinet secretary via Twitter. So like again, we're just calling it how we see it. This is what we're talking about: social media, and the president transformed the usage of social media. That's the only reason I'm bringing him up.
I hear you, but what I'm saying is, it's almost like this boogeyman that can't never go away, and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Anyways, you made a great point, but this is the thing, right? There's this thing called the social contract where, you know, we give these, you know, rights away and everything, right? But the social contract was pre constitution. You feel me? So now we have a constitution, and, you know, it says, you know, our rights are numerated. You feel what I'm saying? Whatever is in the constitution is numerated to the states and everything. You feel me? So my whole thing is, when you say our rights are curtailed, who exactly are you speaking for when you say we, you know, curtail our right, or we agree that our rights to be curtailed? I don't want my rights curtailed. I don't want my rights infringed upon, and I feel like my rights are being infringed upon. You feel me? Because I'm a black man, first off.
You feel like they're being infringed upon when social media regulates its content?
I feel this is how I feel, right?
Just
Donald Trump, the president of America, can say something crazy. Oh, we're blocking Donald Trump. But how about all these women, you know, shaking their butts and, you know, showing private parts, and they're not in Facebook jail? You feel me? Like, there's a lot
That's
of
not true, though. You can't post porn on Facebook.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I've seen it.
You're not supposed to be able to.
Twitter, Instagram, you can do it. There's people,
you're not supposed to be able to.
there's people doing acts on Facebook, but we're talking about Donald Trump. You feel me? Our communities are being, you know, I forget the word. You feel me? It's one of those the biblical words and everything. You feel me? I don't remember. But anyways, like, you know, there's a lot of
different, right, for an entertainer versus someone with the public trust, right? Like someone we elect to lead us. I think their standard and the standard of decency and decorum that we place on them is different than someone who's trying to make some cash on Instagram. So this
is a funny thing, though. So my whole thing is, we're all human beings. But just because he was elected, you're going to hold him to a higher standard than a mother?
No, yes, literally, yes.
I don't.
It's interesting.
That's how you say it. Like, Keisha, please.
Let me chime in right quick. So, I will say now, I'm kind of like in between on that. Reason being, I'm going to have to definitely agree with Andre. I would hold him to a higher standard. Reason being is because, first, you chose to run. You know that being in a political position entails you to hold yourself to a certain standard, because you are getting on these platforms, whether it be via social media, whether it be any outlet that can reach other people. I will say you should be held to a different standard, because you have certain luxuries, as if you walk around, for example, I mean, something that's relevant, but not.
He's a billionaire, though. He's been a billionaire. He's always had these luxuries. So don't make it sound like something new.
But I'm not talking about like that type of luxury. I mean, as in, like, you live in the White House, you govern the people. So because you made the choice to choose to govern a group of people, nevertheless a whole nation, you should be held to a higher standard, because this is people that you are getting advice from. This is who is running us, who is making policies, who's going to pitch advice towards the people per se, you know, especially and the reason why I said the people is because I am also from a democratic position. But nevertheless, when you are saying that you want to get up in front of a people, a group of people, whether it be, I mean, the Emperor of China, whatever the case may be that you have, if you are held, you should be held to a different standard. So I do agree. I'm going to agree with that.
I think to Maceo's point, talking about biblical words, I think if you do read biblical text, leaders are placed in a responsibility, in a position over and above the people who they lead. Like, they do have responsibility, and it is different than the regular common man.
one thing I want to say is, in biblical times, most of them were God inspired. I don't think God inspires Trump, so I'm gonna leave that one out of there. First, second thing is we have all these drug dealers and prostitutes nowadays, and we have all this filth in our communities. We're not holding parents accountable for what they're doing and saying, but we're gonna hold our president accountable. That's crazy to me because my whole thing is this: most of the people don't know who the president is. You feel me? Like I've knocked over. Hold on a second. I've knocked about 3,000, 5,000 doors, maybe more in my lifetime, or like 10,000, whatever. It's a crazy number. Anyways, like I was saying, I've knocked a lot of doors, and I've asked people, who's the president, and they're like, I don't know, and I'm like, okay, cool. But there's so many people who's ignorant in our communities. They don't know who the president is, but you're gonna hold the president accountable instead of a parent who can stop someone from being a drug dealer. That's new to me. And you know what?
But how would Facebook stop a parent from having their kid be a drug dealer? I'm kind of confused.
Because what I'm saying is most of the people on Facebook, I'm getting that bag, or I'm getting this, or I'm getting that. Mm-hmm. But everybody would rather hold, a politician accountable for their actions, but they don't hold, the person on a corner accountable for their actions, or they don't even try to hold, their police accountable. Like it's shirking responsibility. You feel me? And my whole thing is, I see more people will put responsibility on someone else instead of admitting responsibility. Oh, I've done wrong. I'm gonna take care of my I'm gonna take care of my community. You feel me? I just find that crazy, but that's me.
Okay, so Andre, I know you have something to say, and I'm gonna be real quick with this comment. So to piggyback towards Maceo, now when you have a parent who may or may not be able to stop their child from being a drug dealer, right? And I get that the point that you made. You said they may post things that say get into the bag, whatever the case will be, right? So when you have information like that, you have to be careful. And I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong. You have to be careful when you interpret these type of things, because that bag, social media, okay, just like we say social media changed, so does slang. So right. Me as a female, I know I've shared things that say, okay, I'm in my bag all summer. So would you, if you being from a more political aspect, you have way more experience than I do.
I'm from the hood though too, so don't forget that. I'm from Southside Jamaica, Queens, like from me, like let's not say, oh, he's a political man. Listen, I'm talking from my experiences living in both worlds. You feel me? Okay. Someone got shot on my block last week, and I have to still look at these people and be like, yo, how you doing? Can you sign this petition?
Absolutely. So with both of those, with your expertise in both of those areas, would you look at my post and say that, all right, she must be moving at work because she says she's in her bag? So it's a difference between the two.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. We get at the point where we're nitpicking, and I made a broad statement.
Macy, I think to let her finish her point. I think we get in the habit of interrupting women, and we should probably not do that.
I don't think we should interrupt anybody, women or not.
So then we shouldn't do it then. I agree with you. Stop interrupting her.
We'll go.
Okay, so basically, and I'm going to wrap this up really quickly. So my point was basically, it's a difference between saying that someone who agrees to be in a political position, as opposed to, we already know that while there are different styles of leadership, there are different styles of parenting. But which one are you going to see first? Are you more likely to go on social media and see a politician who has a blue check mark on their name, as opposed to someone from Richland County who may not even show up in your feed? It's a difference between saying that if social media is willing to put them up here, then you have to kind of like accept or wiggle your way around the community doing the same thing. Like me, for example, right? For someone that I don't know, I'm a millennial. I did not grow up in the time of Luther Vandross. But for example, if I was to go on social media and it's like, Frankisha, you've listened to several Luther Vandross songs. Would you like to follow him? Case being, if a person who their child is a drug dealer, whatever the case may be, is social media going to point out to me that parent whose child is a drug dealer or posting about maybe, moving whatever that product is, or is going to hold a higher standard to the person who, all right, I'm going to lead y'all. I'm going to lead y'all this way and that way. So if you told me something, I expect to hold you to that standard. So I feel like that's why we kind of place more emphasis on a politician as opposed to a parent.
I just have a funny anecdote, and I always think funny anecdotes are funny. The other day, I was sitting down and on the couch, I was watching TV, and Domino's aired a commercial about their new self-driving car, the little that will deliver your pizza, like no person necessary. And I thought to myself, I'm like, the future is now. Like we live in the future, right? And Facebook and social media is here to stay, and it's going to be here. It is part of our new fabric of society. And I think about how I think of it as a tool, and I think how we can tilt the scale back to the tool being used for more good than it is currently used, I think, for more harm. And I think about like social media, and if someone tells me they don't have a Facebook, like I'm like, that's sketch. Like you sketch, right? Like what scams, what you getting up to that you don't got a Facebook, right? There's a sort of an expectation now that we engage with social media. And now I think about the next generation and how they've not known a world without a Facebook, right? Like my 4 or 5-year-old niece had a Snapchat, and she like that's going to be her future. And I want to think and I need very smart people like Maceo and you, Jalen, and you, Keisha, to help me figure out how we curtail, how we snap back social media from the behemoth that it currently is, and the ways that like there's one thing we didn't even talk about. There's somebody whose job, who it is, 8 hours a day, and they have like one of the highest suicide rates ever, is to screen content on social media. You should look into this. There's like podcasts and books about these people who like 8 hours a day have to like look at the dumpster of the internet and stop us from seeing that stuff. And like these people, like of course the turnover rate's super high, and like that's somebody's job. And
Dang, they didn't want him to finish his point.
That was a good point, though. I'm not front.
He was really about to go in. That's funny. Well, I'm gonna give him a few more seconds to get on, but we are kind of at time. We were supposed to end a few minutes ago, so if Andre does not get back on, so if he doesn't get back on, I guess the question that we'll end with is, if you could get one follow from anybody on social media, on your social media platforms, maybe this is a super millennial question, but if you could get one follow from anybody in the world, who would it be from? Keisha, we can start with you.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. If I could get any follow in the world, it would probably be Oprah Winfrey. She is a go-getter. Like growing up, watching my mom watch her show, before she created her own network, like I feel like that is some serious growth there. You know what I'm saying? Like from her starring in movies to having her own talk show that she talked about different things, and even, awarding people. But nevertheless, like she gave back. You were able to see that firsthand. And like now she don't even have a show no more. She got a whole network. That's, I'm saying, like, okay, that's some motivation right there. So honestly, it would be her, because you surround yourself with people that you would like to become, let's say, similar to, or walk into their shoes just a little bit. So I mean, she's on a billionaire status, and I would love to have that by my name.
That's what's up. Well, you'll definitely get there. You got time. Maceo, who would be your one follow?
That's hard, but so easy. So I think, personally speaking, 50 Cent. I was gonna say Tupac, but Tupac dead. Like, I love Pac, West Side, but 50 Cent. So I say 50 Cent because I'm ambitious. I'm a go-getter. I am entrepreneur. I was gonna say I'm a hustler, but I don't want people to take it, like I hustle. No,
like in your bag.
I'm not gonna say that because you may take it out of context. You feel me? Like, I don't want to be. I don't want to be Maceo, 2022 city council or 2023, and then they be like, oh, guy said he gets in his bag. Nah, I don't want. Nah. But anyways, like I'm saying, 50 Cent. He's always like, I love his music. I wake up with that ambition to change my community. And I feel like, even though he's rapping about getting that bag, literally, I want to help people, become educated and free thinkers, because first and foremost, there's too many people that's going to let Donald Trump or Republicans, like change the way they think and everything. You feel me? And then, I'm a Democrat by heart, but I'm not gonna let the Democratic Party, like influence everything I think. You feel me? I'm a black man. I'm from the hood. You see the Democratic platform changing from like citizens to non-citizens. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. All I'm saying is you still always have to have your community in your forethought. It doesn't matter what the party's doing. You always have to take care of your block. You have to take care of your family. And I feel that too many black people will let go of their community and pick up the Democratic mantle. And I see my white counterparts, the Republican Party may say, oh, we're letting these people in. That's good. But white people aren't going to let go of the white people. They're going to hold them strong and everything. And I look at it as, 50 Cent and everything. He's now putting platforms on people who went to jail. Like his lawyer, this guy, he went to jail, he became a lawyer. Now he's fighting cases, fighting other cases. I respect it, power, So there's a lot of things 50 Cent did. He wrote a book, 50 Law of Power. I read that in 3 weeks. So my whole thing is, at the end of the day, if I can get his stamp of approval, or if I get his like, if he's even looking at this, or someone knows that, look, I'm from the hood 50, and I'm one of your biggest fans, though. Facts.
That's what's up. I think my follow, I'm a big Laker fan. Since I was like a little kid, I've been a Laker fan. So if I could get one follow, it would be from Kyle Kuzma. He's a Laker. He's like the sixth man off the bench, but he's the longest tenure Laker. He was the only Laker that made it when Lonzo and Ingram and everyone got traded. So I definitely get a follow from Kyle Kuzma. If you're watching this, I'm definitely your biggest fan. So follow me. But that's our show. Thank you for all of our panelists. Thank you for all our viewers for taking part in this discussion today. We love feedback and comments, so please feel free to let us know what you think by visiting our website and social media platforms listed below. I'd also like to thank Blue Star for giving us an open space and environment to discuss topics we care about. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the show, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Heard you did it first, I could do it better. If we talking bands, got a new vendetta. They don't want me in, they gon' have to let us. They gon' try to rock when it's Armageddon. They gon' take a lot when they hear the message. And they gon' wanna try when they hear the sessions. I feel like I'm a god when I'm in your presence. I feel like I'm on top, I feel like I had it. City only rock at Givenchy. Got a new white bag and it coming full speed. And they see me at the top, now they really like me. Gotta move like that when you're real icy. Cause it's way less friends than the haters. Way less hands when you make